Good afternoon, distinguished board members,
Good afternoon.
members of management, and invited guests. It is my pleasure to welcome you all to this important meeting of the Board of Directors of Sadman Clothing Limited. I thank each of you for making the time to attend and for the commitment and professionalism you continue to demonstrate in steering our company forward. Since our last sitting, we have made commendable progress in key operational and strategic areas. Despite the challenges that come with managing a growing and diversifying business, I would like to begin by recognizing the tireless efforts of our management team in maintaining business continuity and strengthening customer relationship and positioning SCL for sustained growth. The primary focus of today's meeting is the proposed acquisition of 80% controlling stake in Pink Fashion Company Limited, PFC. This represents a strategic response to one of our most pressing operational challenges, the complexity of running our production, distribution, and retail operation from 4 separate locations. Over the past few years, this multi-location structure has led to rising logistic costs, overlapping functions, and inefficiencies in coordination. The board has long recognized the need to centralize operations to enhance productivity, improve decision-making, and achieve cost optimization. In our assessment, PFC represents a unique opportunity to realize this centralization goal. Its integration, production, and distribution framework, coupled with a strong brand reputation and experienced workforce, align seamlessly with our strategic objectives. By acquiring an 80% stake in PFC, SCL will gain both the physical and organizational capacity to consolidate our operations under the coordinated framework, positioning us for greater efficiency, profitability, and competitive advantage. As we proceed with our deliberation today, I encourage open and thoughtful discussion. Let us carefully evaluate the financial, operational, strategic implication of this acquisition to ensure it delivers long-term value for our stakeholders and strengthen market position. Before we begin the formal agenda, I would like to once again express my appreciation to our executive team, financial advisors, and legal partners who have worked diligently in evaluating this transaction and preparing the necessary documentation for our review. With that, I will invite our secretary to take us through the agenda for today's meeting.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Thank you.
Chairman. Good afternoon once again, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. We are welcome to our emergency meeting for 8th October 2025. I'm glad to announce we have a quorum. All members are present, with the exception of our independent director who is joining us online.
Okay.
We also have 2 guests with us today, Mrs. Nadia Brefo, the representative of the 80% shareholders from PFC Limited, and our alternate director representing Mrs. Sally Apoto. The board pack has been distributed. It contains all the presentations for today and the agenda. So I'll quickly go through it, and then we can start with the business for the day. The first presentation will be from the CEO on the strategic integration of PFC Limited. The second presentation will be from the CFO on the implications, financial implications, and evaluation of our acquisition. And then we will take a statement from Mrs. Nadia Brefo as a new potential partner. After that, we will go to the general discussions on the issues for the day, and then adopt the resolutions and take the chairman's closing remarks. And so, without taking too much time, I will pass over to the CEO so that she can give us her presentation.
No, thank you, the secretary. Mr. Chairman, distinguished board members, and our special guest, Ms. Nadia Binoko. Good afternoon. I appreciate the opportunity given me to address the board on our proposed acquisition of Pink Fashion Company Limited. As management, we saw this as an opportunity to consolidate our operations, to reduce our overhead costs and also to get a permanent base for our operations as a centralized unit. So this acquisition is actually in the right direction. But then again, we acknowledge that in our bid to capitalize on the opportunity, we sidestep some corporate governance implementation strategies that we should have done. For instance, we did not get the board approval. This should have been done by an extraordinary general meeting where the board approval will be sought before we can go ahead with the acquisition. And then again, we have some issues with registration, especially with regards to the shareholding at the Office of the Registrar of Companies. This we also acknowledge that it hasn't been done. So these are our shortfalls and we acknowledge them. As head of management, we are proposing that in the bid to address these shortfalls, the secretary should note these three things. And first of all, prepare a special resolution to ratify the acquisition, especially of Nadia's shareholding. And then also the second thing that we are proposing is that we need to update the company share register to notify the registrar accordingly. And then the third is to get an independent evaluator to assess the combined value of the company post-acquisition. Going forward, we also propose that before all the legal documentations have been done, we propose that Pink Fashion Company operates as a subsidiary until all legal documentations have been done. We'd like to use this opportunity to also assure the board of continuous transparency and commitment to corporate governance mechanisms, and that nothing of this nature will ever happen again. So, in bringing my statement to a close, I would like to use the opportunity to especially welcome Ms. Nadia Binefo to our family. We value and appreciate the partnership, and we know that with this new partnership, hopefully, it will become the whole work of fashion and clothing when it comes to Ghana, Africa, and possibly the world at large. So we welcome you, and I thank you all for your time.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Madam CEO. We now take the presentation from the Chief Finance Officer.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, distinguished board members.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
And Secretary. Thank you for the opportunity to brief you on the post-acquisition financial and governance matters following our purchase of Pink Fashion Company. My remarks is on 5 areas: the transaction and evaluation summary, the post-acquisition shareholding, the governance oversight, and documentation challenges with ORC, and my recommendation for board's approval. Now, looking at our transaction and evaluation summary, in the acquisition of Sandman Clothing by Pink Fashion, the Pink Fashion Company, we are purchasing 80% of Pink Fashion Company as Sandman Clothing.
Yes.
And it's valued at $2 million as per due diligence. And we are also giving Ms. Nadia Binefo her fair share of 20%, who will be the minority shareholder. So now, Pink Fashion Company was assessed at a value of 3.5 million. But due diligence, as I earlier stated, reveals that her company, Pink Fashion Company, would have a fair share of $2 million because of their obsolete machinery and the client base, which has reduced. And we, Sandman Clothing, we are also going to increase our purchase, our assets to $7 million. Now, what I want us to look at is the post-acquisition shareholding, which I would like to draw your attention on that the post-acquisition shareholding Miss Sandra Engman, Miss Sally Akoto, Dr. Perry Gamra, Miss Nadia Benefo. So our post-acquisition shareholding would give Sandra Engman 60%. Miss Sally Akoto would also have 15%. Dr. Perry Gambra would have 5%. And Miss Nadia Benefo would have 20%. So to make this legally binding, we need to update our share certificates and shareholder register, and also file this structure with the ORC. Now, I want also us to look at the governance compliance gaps. Our acquisition, although it's financially sound, but it's not legally binding in the sense that Ms. Benefo's admission lacked formal shareholding approval. Also, the use of alternate directors' roles were used without proper documentation. Dr. Benefo, who is also a director of Pink Fashion Company, was not consulted. These require formal resolution and proper board records under the Companies Act 992. Now, our documentation challenges with ORC is that our filings may face delays from incomplete PFC records, unsigned transfer forms, inconsistent shareholder data, and ORC demand that we do a fresh revaluation and audited document. So we need to dedicate a liaison officer who will work with our company secretary, and auditors should also manage these submissions. Having said all these are my recommendations that we need to commission an independent asset revaluation before year end. We need to convene an extraordinary general meeting to ratify acquisition and confirm shareholding, file updated share register, resolutions, and annual returns with ORC. And we need to integrate PFC asset register into Sandman Clothing accounting system. We need also to strengthen our governance and approval protocols for future acquisitions. Mr. Chairman, I would like to end here by saying that this acquisition strengthens Sandman Clothing's market position and asset base. Our next focus must be to regularize governance, complete filings, and revalue assets to ensure transparency and compliance. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Danso. And so with that, we move directly into the general discussion session. With that, we take the speech from Miss Nadia Benefo, her first speech to the board.
Okay, thank you, Lord Secretary. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, distinguished board members. And thank you all for having me. So I would like to take you down memory lane to the days when the school bus would drop me off at my mother's workplace. And every time, without fail, I'll come back to meet some as an for waiting for me. And my mother made sure I had my own table and chair in some corner somewhere. I remember. And I had my own sewing machine. It wasn't working well, but it was okay. That kept me busy while the adults attended to important matters. Those were very simple times, but they were magical. Every time I go to my mother's company, the business place, I still hear the laughter, the chatter, the constant hum of sewing machines filling the room. To me, the business was not just any business at all. It has been a reflection of her worth, her strength, and her unshakable spirit. Losing her was one of the hardest things that my family has ever faced. And yes, the company has had its share of struggles since then. But today, as we take this next step with Sandman Children Limited, I will feel with gratitude. This partnership means more than just an acquisition. It's a continuation of a story. One that began with passion, hard work, and love. SCL also being a fashion company reminds me so much of my mother's company. That means every time I enter SCL, I also be reminded of the chatter, the laughter that went on during those times. My siblings and I decided to retain 20% ownership, not because we can't let go, but because we choose to preserve what our mother started. It takes courage to start a business, and even more so to sustain one. We want our children and their children after them to know that their great-grandmother was bold enough to dream and determined enough to make that dream real. And we believe that together we will not only honor the past, but build something stronger, something lasting. I'm confident that my late mother will be proud. She will be proud to know that a reputable and visionary company like SCL is continuing what she began. On behalf of my family, I say a heartfelt thank you for welcoming us, for respecting our history, and for allowing us to remain part of this beautiful journey. Together, I believe we'll make SCL not just a leader in Ghana's fashion industry, but a shining example of excellence across Africa and beyond. Thank you once again.
Thank you very much, Madam Nadia. Wonderful. And so, with that said, we move on to the general discussion part of the emergency board meeting. If anybody has any questions, any comments, Mr. Chairman.
The floor is now open
Okay.
for anybody to make his comments.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, during the CFO's presentation, he mentioned the new structure of the shareholding based on the successful acquisition of Think Fashion Company. And I noted that the only shareholder whose share has been affected is the CEO, which is me in this capacity. I originally had 80% shareholding, but now I have 60. I have noted your concern that my other colleagues, Ms. Sally, still maintains 15, and Tagambra also maintains 5%. So I believe that to make this more equitable, the shareholding should be restructured based on the percentage of our current shareholding structure so that it's spread across instead of just one shareholder taking the hits in this acquisition. So that is my first concern. Thank you.
You're welcome, Mr. CFO. Your response, your reason for
This is the post-acquisition shareholding. It's a fair share of each board member or shareholder. Let me put it that way. And because you were having 80%, we were 5 million, we were worth 5 million. And when we purchase, we are going to increase our asset to 7 million. That means even though you guys are going to get 60%, you are also going to get something in addition in terms of the increase in assets, the company. So don't look at this, getting the 60% as a loss, or look at it as an increase in assets of the company. That is my assertion.
Thank you very much. I think I sympathize with the comments of the CEO. It's unfair for her to bear the entire burden of the allocation. And so even though the shares, we are issuing new shares and they are being diluted and redistributed, the burden should fall equally on every shareholder.
yes.
And not on her alone, but at least there should be a commensurate burden. And so if we are distributing the cost of the new shares on a pro rata basis, then it would be 16% from Sandra Engman, 3% from Salia Puto, and then 1% from Dr. Gambra to make the 20%. So that the new shareholding will be 64%, 12%, 4%, and 20%. Respectively. And so we have 100 shares. We are issuing 20 new shares. Everybody gets a greater number of shares, but at a reduced percentage.
Okay. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I hand over to you.
I think what the secretary is saying is laudable, and I believe we are all in support of that. The reduction should be commensurate or should be proportionate rather than one person bearing all the reduction. So I think we should go by what we've all agreed right now.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Is there any other comment, any other question or clarification?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I had the CFO mentioning some challenges regarding documentation
Yes.
at the ORC.
Yeah.
How do we address that, please?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. So the main issue with the filing at ORC is with the shareholding of Pink Finance Company Limited. Pink Fashion Company Limited. Their shareholding is in two parts, 80% for Mrs. Nadia Brefo and her, 70% for Mrs. Nadia Brefo and her siblings, and 30% for Dr. Benefo. So far, we have evidence that Mrs. Nadia Brefo and her siblings are consenting to the transaction, but we don't have anything on record from Dr. Benefo, and that would be a requirement at the ORC. And so we need this to be clarified, and whether the Mrs. Nadia Brefo and her siblings have his consent to sell 80% of the company.
I believe this question is for me. Yes. Okay, sure. Thank you so much, Board Secretary, for the question. As stated that this is going to come up, and prior to this emergency board meeting, we had a family meeting. We called the head of the family and had a discussion with my father, who has a 30% share in PFC. So according to, we agreed that we'll pay him off his 30% shareholding with the 80 and some of the 80% that was paid to us by SCL, so that he no longer is part of this new agreement. So once that is finalized, his signature will be given, and then we'll have the consent to proceed with the ORC documentation.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
That's wrong with it.
Is there any other question
Other directors.
from the other directors or independent director?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I'd like to ask Ms. Nadia if she's going to accept a reduction of 15% of her shares. Yeah.
Okay, that's an interesting question, Madam Independent Director. I wasn't expecting that actually, but I think the agreement was fair. It was based on the valuation that was done. The valuation that was done earlier, and that's how come we agreed on the 80% payoff and the 20% shares. So I think it's fair, honestly, unless maybe the board disagrees.
Thank you very
Any
much.
other concern?
But if the board insists that the reduction be done, then I also suggest that the board has an independent valuator to revalue the assets of Pink Fashion, so that if it happens that the initial agreement was not in favor of SCL, then we do I reduced my shares because I mean I'm going to be part of this family, and I do not want a situation where maybe it will feel like I'm taking advantage of the company.
Thank
So,
you. Thank you. Thank you.
yes, if the board
And
have
then-
independent evaluator, that would do. Yeah.
To cut the matter short, I believe a lot of thinking have gone on before this proposal for discussion was made. So let's let this proposal or agreement run for the next year or two. Then we decide to review it. Then we make a decision whether or not to review it. So let's it stands as it is.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And so, as it stands, we have come to the end of our general discussion. And
The secretary, if I, a moment, I think we had to also look at our growth approach briefly. As management,
Yeah,
what is, yes, so as head of management, we are proposing that with the successful acquisition of Pink Fashion, we should look at possible diversification as our growth approach, because we know that they are more into mass uniform production, yes, on contract basis. But as Sandman, we are more into exportation. So if we can consider adding that part of Pink Fashion as part of our business to diversify to get more of the market share, I think that would be good. So that is our growth approach. Thank you.
Okay.
thank you very much.
Any
Madam
concern or response to her observation,
I think that's
her
fine.
request?
That's fine.
Yeah, I think it is fine with me too. It will help to manage our risk as a company.
Thank you very much for a successful meeting. These are the resolutions that we have passed today. Number one, we will ratify the acquisition of Pink Fashion Company Limited, subject to the evidence that Dr. Benefo consents. Number two, we approve the shareholding structure and admission of a new shareholder in the following terms: Mrs. Sandra Engman, 64%, Ms. Sally Akutu, 12%, Dr. Gambra, 4%, and Ms. Nadia Benefo at 20%. Number three, we commission an independent valuation of Pink Fashion Company Limited. Number four, the company secretary will execute all the necessary filings, the legal documentation at the ORC. And number five, we reorganize the board to include Ms. Nadia and to reorganize the board committees and the integration committees. So these are the 5 resolutions that we have passed today.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And so this brings us to the end of our general discussion. Mr. Chairman, if we may take your closing remarks.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we come to the close of today's meeting, I would like to take a moment to express my sincere appreciation to all members of the board and management for the robust, thoughtful, and constructive deliberation we have had. Your insight and professionalism have once again reflected a high standard of governance and leadership that defines Sadman Clothing Limited. I am pleased to note that after careful review and extensive discussion, the board has formally adopted the resolution approving the acquisition of an 80% equity stake in Pink Fashion Company Limited, subject to the completion of the necessary regulatory, financial, and legal requirements. Let me commend the management and team for their thorough preparation, due diligence, continued effort in guiding this process. Once again, I thank each and everyone for your time, dedication, and valuable contribution to today's successful meeting. Together, we are positioning Sadman Clothing Limited for even greater growth and competitiveness in the future ahead. If there are no further matters for discussion, I hereby declare this meeting fully adjourned.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.